So if I was going to ask you, what are your top three foods or drinks for longevity that would have
Hmm.
the best overall effect? Which
Yeah,
would you
listen,
pick?
yeah. I mean, listen, I have my own personal favorites, and I also have
Mm.
knowledge of what these foods do. So keep in mind that, I'm expressing a mix, a blend of my scientific knowledge and my clinical knowledge with my personal preferences. And that, by the way,
Yeah,
this is what everybody should be doing.
right.
Food and longevity and enjoyment of life, highly personal. All right. And so you're asking me a question I'm going to answer in a very personal way, based on what I know, of course. So I will tell you that I'm going to lump them into one category because they take up two. Tea and coffee, all right,
Mhm.
are two longevity beverages that also activate your body's health defenses. I call them grand slammers. In American baseball, grand slammers, where a person who is hitting the ball hits the ball so far that everybody on the bases can run in and score points, including the batter. That's a grand slam. It's a euphemism that's used to talk about something that's so amazing. It hits all the targets. And this is and tea and coffee together as beverages are grand slammers. They help angiogenesis, stem cells, microbiome, DNA repair, and also your immunity and inflammation system. They're beneficial. That's one food. And by the way, they slow down the cellular process of cellular aging. They slow down how fast our cells age, and they right size our metabolism. And when you take a look at the blood characteristics of people who are super agers, what's a super ager? Somebody who's gets to 90 or 100. Those are super agers. 100-year centenarians are super agers. Look at their blood versus looking at somebody younger person's blood. The difference between a superager is that they have better metabolic path. If you compare superagers to people who die at an earlier age, metabolism is out of whack in the younger people. Metabolism intact in older people. So tea and coffee also help your metabolism. They help burn extra body fat. They lower inflammation. Tea and coffee would be one of my foods. I'm cheating by right out of the gate by lumping two of them together. All right, because I personally drink tea in the morning and I drink tea at night. So that's my beverage cycle. Second, I would say are beans, legumes. Okay. White beans, black beans, pinto beans, lentils, chickpeas, you name it. These are all kind of legumes that are kind of the bean family. All right. Red beans, azuki beans, for example, in Asia are very popular. And the beans all contain dietary fiber. All right. They also contain minerals and vitamins, but they contain dietary fiber. Beans, the dietary fiber, actually feeds our gut microbiome, feeds our healthy gut bacteria. When our healthy gut bacteria is well fed, the gut bacteria release substances called short chain fatty acids into our blood that lowers inflammation. And all of the chronic diseases that steal and rob us of that long longevity are inflammatory diseases. So you want to live long, you want to counter the forces that rob you of those extra years, and that's by lowering inflammation. Beans do that, okay, by feeding the gut microbiome, but beans do something else. They also are filling, so they trigger satiety, meaning the feeling of fullness. So we tend not to overeat. So if you eat beans for lunch, guarantee you're not going to eat as much dinner, no matter what. You're just not going to be quite as hungry. And that's important because when we overeat, we flood our metabolism and we wind up building extra body fat, and that body fat's inflammatory. So here's another way of actually controlling our metabolism. Beans actually work in multiple ways. So beverage, beans. I would say the third food that I really, really think is beneficial are brassica. That's a whole category of greens. Broccoli would be a great example. Kale would be another kind of typical healthy example. But let's talk about some other interesting brassica, Swiss chard, bok choy, lots of different arugula. These are all other cauliflower. These are all other interesting ways of actually having greens that are brassica that contains sulforaphanes, isothiocyanates. These are chemical. When you eat a nice, beautifully cooked green, it has a kind of a interesting sulfury taste to it, slight plant-like taste. That is actually from the sulforaphanes. And those are powerful in protecting your DNA against aging. They are powerful in boosting your immune system. They're immune boosting. And by the way, as a footnote, I'll tell you, somewhere out there in the internet world, in the social media world, there are people spewing complete nonsense to say isothiocyanates and broccoli they contain anti-nutrients. For the record, on your podcast, I'm going to tell you there is no such thing as an anti-nutrient. That is, that is some crazy word made up by somebody who may have good intentions, but and probably pretty creative, but there's no scientific basis for an anti-nutrient. Foods, whole foods, they all have nutrients and they are good for you. There's nothing that actually counters the nutrient. All right. Now, so brassica would be the third category. And there's many more, but I would tell you that, coffee, tea, the beans, which are a big category, and the brassica, I could actually make any of those categories. I could whip up a tasty dish, and they're easy to cook. By the way, they don't require a lot of time. They're inexpensive. They're seasonal. At least the greens are. And then, by the way, if I had to sneak in one more food, because I cheated at the beginning, I'll cheat at the end. I'll sneak one more food in. I would say it's tomatoes. I love tomatoes. Tomatoes are a fruit. They contain lycopene. Tomatoes, the lycopene in tomatoes and eating tomatoes have been shown in clinical studies to lower the risk of prostate cancer and of breast cancer in population studies. And the lycopene protects your DNA. So if you're somebody who likes to go out in the sun to get some sun at the beach, if you have tomato juice or tomato salad, that lycopene will protect you from ultraviolet radiation damage to your DNA from the inside out. It's like sunscreen from inside your body. Still apply sunscreen outside your body, but if you want to protect yourself from the inside out, tomatoes are one of them. And by the way, tomatoes contain lycopene, but also so does watermelon. So a cool watermelon drink on a hot day, that's a way of getting lycopene, which makes both tomatoes and watermelon juice red. Those are actually protective ways as well. So longevity, lifespan, protect your body, activate your health defenses, get your metabolism in better shape. These are just some of the ways that you can actually help to achieve not just longer living, but better living along the way.